Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to episode 6 of the Uninsured Angles podcast. This is our Christmas episode. We have a shtick today where we're all going around giving our Christmas gifts to one another and the NBA, and we're going to talk about what's going on, what's going right, what's not going right, and kind of having the usual banter that we always do. So, who wants to start us off with a Christmas gift this year? What's going on? Just 2 days away from the big holiday. 3 days? 2 days? Doesn't matter. Close enough.
Time is relative.
Feel like Joshua Claus probably wants to kick us off.
Let's go, Joshua Claus.
Well, all right. Feliz Navi-god, gentlemen. Joshua Claus, with his first gift of the year, is giving it to none other than Jason Tatum. Because Jason Tatum's been a good boy this year. Jason Tatum is at the top of the nice list. And you want to know what I'm gifting Jason Tatum? I'm gifting him some goalposts. But you want to know what kind of goalposts? Fixed goalposts. So people stop moving the goalposts on Jason Tatum. Listen, I've been fired up for like the last 2 weeks of everyone talking about how great Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, which he's a good player, and not acknowledging how good Jason Tatum is. First of all, Jason Tatum is the best American player in the NBA. Full stop. Thank you for no objection there. Secondly,
Cooper Flag wants a word.
Secondly, that'll be next year. Secondly, his statistical accomplishments and resume so far is just insane. Where we just need to take a moment and acknowledge how great Jason Tatum is. First thing I'll start with is a list of players to win a title by leading their team in points, rebounds, and assists. We have Larry Bird, Celtic legend, who did that twice. We have Akeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, LeBron James, the GOAT, who did it 3 times, Nikola Jokic. Oh, and what's that last name on the list? It says Jason Tatum. That's right, fellas. Jason Tatum joins the list of some of the greatest players of all time. And we're over here talking about, is Jason Tatum all that good? Is Jason Tatum all that good? Yes, he is. So for Christmas, Joshua Claus is dropping off some goalposts that all you fools won't be moving on him.
I don't think any of us were doing that.
Well, you know what's good about no one wants to talk about Jason Tatum, so we can probably just move on.
Yeah, sounds good.
Before we move on, Jason Tatum was also the second player in NBA history to have a 40, 15, and 10 game against the Bulls last night. So put some respect on his name. That's
not the
all we're
first to
asking.
have a 40, 15, and 10, but it was the second to have a 40, 15, and 10 with 9 threes as the kicker.
He did have a good dunk this week, didn't he? Didn't he posterize the heck out of someone?
Jalen Smith, who Jaylen Brown got last time we played the Bulls.
Love that.
Tough week for Jalen, or tough season for Jalen Smith.
Tough season for the Jalen's. Jaylen Brown
right,
still can't dribble. Jalen Williams can't bring home the NBA Cup.
Jalen Brunson can't get a text back from his teammates.
Jalen Green can't make 2 threes in a row if his life depended on it.
Well, as long as we're talking about things we've already talked about plenty of times before, I'm going to talk about my present, which is it's a 2-for-1 combo. It's the Orlando Magic. They have a present and they're also my cold. So the present aspect is last week they were down by 22 going into the fourth quarter against the Miami Heat. What'd they do? They brought it back and they won. That's without Paolo. That was without Franz. I think Suggs was even on the bench.
Suggs was out too.
Suggs was out too. Look at them doing their thing. I love to see that. They're still 4th seed in the East. But here's the cold part. We're going to be continuing to lose guys. Franz's brother Mo is now. He was a leading candidate for 6th man of the year. That's my
second leading candidate.
He was a leading candidate, not
even on the list.
Fine, you guys are right. Whatever.
I'll say that's a good that's a good segue to one of the items that I had listed is that Krampus is haunting the Orlando Magic this year with the number of injuries that they've gone down with before the Christmas break. It's sad. You hate to see it. You don't want to root for it, especially with them all being younger guys that we haven't viewed as being particularly injury prone. Well, with the exception of Suggs. But yeah, the two young stars going down, and then two of their primary role players following suit. It's not a good scene. You hate to see it. Heck off,
This
Krampus.
is just the opportunity to let Gogo Batadze cook. That's really what it is.
Who did dunk on Giannis? Like, what was that last week, week before? Oh, it was beautiful. Sorry, Nico, you weren't done with your gift giving, and
No,
I
that was
did want to
good.
pass that back to you.
No, this is good. I thought it was a good transition. I mean, seriously, I think the Magic are going to be washed out the rest of the year now because of all these injuries, and it's a sad day. But I've got this sneaky suspicion they're still going to make the playoffs, and my Pistons will not, and that's going to be a hurtful day when that kind of thing happens. But it's all good. That's my gift. It was short and sweet. That was just what it was. So
Well, I will use that as a quick transition to one of my gift picks, and this 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 the wish list was delivered to me from the Suns. And the number one item on their wish list this year is some freaking depth because they look so rough when they have anybody on the floor that's other than their two stars because let's be clear, Bradley Beal is not a star and they need to trade him. That's the move that should be the first thing that happens with the trade deadline coming up. They need to move Bradley Beal for two good role players to fill out their depth because Katie and Book are showing up. They're playing good basketball. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And Tyus Jones has been playing really good too, which should come as a surprise to nobody.
love
They
Tyus
they
Jones.
they need more depth. They're giving too many minutes to somebody that's putting up 15 points a night and doing very little else on the floor in the form of Bradley Beal, also wasting millions and millions of dollars on him. So get them some depth on
If
the as the number one item on their wish list.
if Josh the Grinch can hop in real quick, Jordan, I have a question for you. There's one player in the NBA with a no trade clause in his contract. Do you know who that player is?
All that means is he's got to agree to it.
That's fair. That is fair.
I'm going to presume this is Bradley Beal.
It
That's
is Bradley
correct.
Beal.
Do we
What do you
have
think
any
the Suns
ideas
should trade
where
him?
Well, while Jimmy Butler's agent might say differently, Shams seems to think that he's going or that Jimmy Butler is a
Shams.
great candidate. Shams, my bad.
I am all in? That was actually one of my gifts is Jimmy Butler. He is going to be a gift to whatever team he lands on. I think he's going to get traded. I think he's going to be like the premier second wheel for a team. Like they're going to have a 1A, he'll be the 1B. He doesn't take the regular season seriously, but man, if you get that dude in the playoffs, he's going to be a dog. And that I think is going to happen. I don't think he's going to be a Heat at the end of the season.
I have a question about Jimmy Butler for y'all.
Yeah.
Do we think Jimmy Butler is still good? Because the last 2 years have been rough, and he has not been particularly all that Junior Jordan of him this season.
Did we not just watch him put up like 35 points, 19 rebounds, and 10 assists like 2 games ago?
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
sorry, I
know.
was watching Jason Tatum.
No, that makes sense. You got you got your blinders on. You're like a racehorse only watching one
This
guy.
this is the narrative on Butler though, right? Like he doesn't show up consistently in the regular season. 82 games, it's a long season, but when it comes to the playoffs, he shows up. That I mean that's when you want a guy to show up any time at all. And yeah, he's not interested. That's why he needs to be the second guy on the team, not the first guy on the team, because otherwise you may not even get in the playoffs with Jimmy Butler as your top tier guy. But if you're your second guy, sure.
Yeah,
So I don't know where he's going to
feels
land.
like it feels like 2020 Lakers Rajon Rondo. He was maybe the seventh best player on our team during the regular season, but he was probably our second best player on the team through the whole playoffs. And that was a team
Playoff
with
Rondo.
LeBron and AD on it.
Yeah, Jimmy's got a couple years left, but he's certainly not at peak powers anymore.
What do you got cooking up over there, Haley?
My gift is a gift to one of my favorite former Hawks, John Collins. I would like to gift
Mm.
him a new team. So I don't know who that team might be. I was thinking of trade partners today and thought of a handful, but honestly, I just want to see John Collins go and flourish somewhere else where he can be a good veteran locker room presence. He's stretched his game. He is a very good three-point shooter now. He's shooting 40+% from three. He continues to be a really good rebounder. He's a willing defender at least, and he can do a little bit of everything. So am hopeful that the Jazz will indeed trade him as a good veteran presence. And, oftentimes when you're a good vet, you can get kind of a nice landing spot as you're looking to, not tank your career away. So I'm hopeful for John to get on a nice team where he can have a good role and maybe compete for something.
The
With that
Jazz are
nice,
s- are such a confusing team to me because it feels like they have just as many pieces as like a Houston Rockets team if you just like compare their personnel. And it doesn't what's their coach's last name? Is it Will Hardy? Is that
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't view him as a bad coach.
Mm. He's good.
I feel like he's done a decent job throughout his, relatively short career so far. And I'm just looking at their roster, like they've got a bunch of guys that I like, and
Hmm.
yet they just can't win games. It's confusing with guys like Markkanen and Collins, and I'm a Walker Kessler enjoyer, and Colin Sexton's really fun. He's a dog, and Keontae George has been having a kind of a breakout year. It just if we're looking at
Nasty
like
dunk the other night.
yeah, if we're just looking at raw stats, he's putting up really good numbers this year. So I mean, that's six guys right there that are are making good contributions. It's yeah, it's strange that they're not winning more games.
I,
they
I
got
think
some young
they
guys too that are really interesting. On Flip, they got Isaiah Collier. Like I think they've got talent, just
Yeah.
not doing well together. What were you say, Haley?
I feel like they don't really have a whole lot of like connective players. They've got guys who are good at things. They don't have a whole lot of dudes who are like excellent at much of anything. Walker Kessler is an excellent rim defender. Uh, but other than that, there's not really anybody who's like elite at anything. And I
Yeah.
think that can that can be problematic when you need somebody to go get you a bucket when you're I don't know, in crunch time or whatever, or you need somebody to be your like definitive point of attack defender. And well, Taylor Hendricks might be that guy, but he's out. So, um, but yeah, agree. They're a weird team because they do have a lot of interesting pieces, but just nothing that like really brings them together, and
Hmm.
nothing that's like elite.
Are they a Jimmy Butler away from a good team?
No.
Oh God.
I think Jimmy would he'd be out of there so fast. He would hate
Jimmy
every
wouldn't
minute
even
of that.
show up to Utah.
No
It's too
chance.
co- it's too cold for him there.
That might be the worst situation for Jimmy in the league. I do have a trade proposal that works in the trade machine for John Collins.
Let's go.
Oh, I
Okay.
think Haley might be on the same page as me. How about the Detroit Pistons?
I
How about
actually would,
for
yeah,
How
that's
about
crazy. I
for
was thinking
Isaiah
about this.
Stewart and or a pick?
This is
It
exact.
works. Both teams are under the apron. I'm out on Isaiah Stewart. I liked him as a rookie, but he is not improved. He can't shoot. He's smaller than you realize. And John Collins is a better player. He can help space. He's a lob threat. I like John Collins on the Pistons.
Yeah. I actually was thinking about that today because I saw Beef Stew's name come up in like one of those future trade columns type things. And Beef Stew's become a better defender this year, but I think John Collins does like he's a nice tweener between
Mhm.
Tobias and Jalen, where if you need him to play the four, he can play the four with Jalen, but if you need him to play the five while Jalen's off the floor, he can play the five. And I really like him next to their other pieces. Yeah, I would love that.
I would
And,
too.
and you all know I love when my former Hawks go to the Pistons. I can wear my hat.
We'll we'll take your hand-me-downs. I'm okay with that.
Now all we need is Danny Ainge to agree to the trade, so don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
Josh, you got any more gifts for us?
I mean, Josh O'Claws has a whole list of gifts this year. I'm feeling really gift givey this year. The next one I'll go with is sure to get a reaction out of one of the guys on the pod. How about an Indiana Pacer? How about Tyrese Halliburton? And you know what Josh O'Claws wants to give to Tyrese Halliburton?
The bench.
New hamstrings. Because before the hamstring injury, he was one of the most exciting players in the NBA. Easily a top 8 player in the league. And then he hurts his hamstring, and he has not been the same player since. And he is a above average point guard with a weird jump shot, and that's about what Tyrese Halliburton is. It is so disappointing after last year when he was one of the best players in the league and super fun to watch. Haley, you love your Pacers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, system player. He's just not that good. It is what it is.
Would he
Accept
be
it.
better with new hamstrings, though?
No.
So what's the thing about his hamstrings, right? Like we're not talking about a 1A level athletic player here. He's always been good based on his shiftiness, change of pace. Like he's not an explosive player where it's like, oh, he lost that top end speed and quickness that he had before. He's not De'Aaron Fox, right? That this hamstrings are not it.
It
It's
feels a
he's
little
it.
correlation versus causation of you, Josue.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a line of demarcation where like everyone started watching tape on him after the hamstring injury. They had some time to catch up and like, oh, this is how we're going to guard this dude. But up until the hamstring injury, he was super fun, and I will forever blame the hamstring for his decline.
I do think that some of the challenges with the Pacers are personnel related, and some of their guys don't fit the system as good as you would hope, and some of the guys that like they really need Nimhard to make things work, and and Halliburton needs a lot of support on
Mhm.
defense, and that's not really
It's not the
much of
Pacers'
that
strong
team's
suit.
sport. No, yeah, it's
The
not.
team just doesn't fit together. Like the pieces don't fit.
Yeah. It's not the most cohesive basketball to watch. It's kind of the if the Utah Jazz just played together for 4 years. Like sure they're older and they played in the league for a little longer, but man, they just can't figure it out.
Well, I'm going to jump into my next set of gifts. And these are gifts of coal. So this coal goes to the referees in the
Oh
NBA.
yes, preach, Nico.
We were given two egregious technical fouls this week that I loathe. The first one to Brandon Pudzminski. I'm not so sure I'm saying it right, but
That
Pajemski.
that one was
Pajemski.
rough.
He was identifying beer spilled on the floor to a referee, and he got teed up for it. What?
That was a tough
Okay.
Oh
scene.
boy.
That's number one. Number two here is the towel boy from the Pelicans. He got a delay of game penalty because he's out there mopping stuff up and was getting in the way. We got to do better. We got to do better. Like, I mean, there's intent here, guys. And Jordan was regaling Haley and I earlier today about spirit of the game. Let's spirit of the game here, guys. Like, we're doing the right thing. We don't need to give teas unnecessarily for spirit of the game, trying to make sure we have a clean playing court and no one's getting hurt and that kind of stuff. Like, let's keep it together.
Joe
Relevant
Mazzulla
to
would agree
that.
with you.
Yeah,
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas. Relevant to that, I would like to see less tease for taunting. Like DeAndre Hunter dunked all over
All over
Wembanyama
Wemby. That was
in
nasty.
in a clutch moment, and then they give him double technicals for like staring each other down. I don't think he said anything like egregious, and it's just like I don't know. I do miss a little bit of some of that like excitement after a physical play like that. It's like, that's fine. Leave that alone. And then the one person, the one referee who we just won't give coal to is Bill Kennedy because
Nope.
my man, he is the best. Like just so funny. He had a moment again in the Hawks game a few years ago where he kept getting interrupted by the PA announcer and he gave him like just the wildest look. and then like thanked him over
Nasty
the
side
mic.
eye.
Yeah, it was great. But anyways, he continues to have like these viral moments as a referee, and they're just awesome, and not for the wrong reasons,
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the way.
no, he needs to be a voice actor out here.
Yeah.
He plays to the crowd perfectly. My complaint with the referees is the variance of what different guys get away with. And I've been complaining about this for years. Draymond Green gets away with murder. Like the things that he does are some of the most ridiculous things, and he doesn't get called for tees. When he does get called for tees, like the what's the expression? The rope that he gets for the second tee is ridiculous. He would actually need to stab a guy to get a second tee, whereas some other guys are get a very quick whistle. I'd also put, my guy Luca in there. He gets a very long leash from the officials as well. But some guys, it's just like they look at the official and the official's like, nope, that's a T. So we gotta be better about that as a league.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the veterans definitely get a bit of a longer leash typically, but
Mm.
then I say that, and then Paul got tossed in the first quarter for not a whole lot. Like he was chirping, but I've seen a lot worse stuff get let go. And to Haley's point from earlier about like taunting tees, the last couple weeks have just been full of people talking about how the league's ratings are down and blaming the three-pointer for all that. And I'm like, no, the reason ratings are down is for those types of things. The things that
Mhm.
get people amped up to watch games is when people are showing passion and energy and getting excited. And if you're penalizing teams for getting excited about something amazing, then you're incentivizing people to not care about the amazing things that are happening too. So
Mm.
I couldn't agree more with that take. Like, yes, are you naturally going to be leading to the occasional additional kerfuffle because you let a couple dudes jaw back and forth at each other? Sure, but I think you'd rather have that than a dead boring game.
It's lifeless otherwise. Jordan, what you got for a second for another
Yeah,
gift?
speaking of things that bring life to the game, I'd like to highlight a gift that one of the NBA legends has given us and continues to give. As they say in Christmas Vacation, it's a gift that keeps on giving the whole year. And that is from the great George Gervin. He gave us the teardrop, which then has morphed its way into the floater. And I would just like to take a moment to thank dear old George for his contribution to the game. And I think we see it in a lot of players' games, a couple notable guys. Hartenstein
Mm.
loves his little midi floater. It's beautiful to watch. Someone that I can't stop talking about, Dyson Daniels, has been whipping out the floater, and that's fun. Curry has the amazing combination of both the teardrop and the floater. Just took the teardrop and said, "Let's 5x that ish." And then we got other point guards like your Tyus Joneses who just pull it out in all of the correct moments. There there are times when I wish Dyson Daniels would take it stronger to the basket instead of pulling up for a floater, or times where I'm like, why did Curry just throw that ball into the rafters? But then you got the one of the last true point guards in the form of Tyus Jones, who only pulls it out in the moments where it's actually needed, and it makes it especially beautiful. So thank you, George, for your contribution to the game, and see how it is passed down through the generations.
Amen.
Shout out Iceman.
Nice, man. Love
Haley, what
that.
do you got? What do you got for a second gift?
I got a little stocking stuffer. This is a three-piece though. For my Texas NBA teams, I'm handing out a good dose of patience to the
Mm.
Mavericks, the Rockets, and Spurs. So the way that I see these guys, I feel like they're all either where they should be or want to be or a little ahead of schedule. So I'll start with the Spurs because they're kind of overachieving where we expected them to be. And I think that a lot of times teams with young talent can get ahead of themselves and want to fill in gaps around their star player a little too early, and I want them to just kind of like stay put. I know they have some pieces that they could move, maybe like acquire some other guys on the same timeline who are still young, but maybe morph into role players. But I want them to hold on to CP3. I want them to hold on to Harrison Barnes. Like let the vets do whatever they've been doing to kind of change some of the things that are happening with the organization or with the team this year. And yeah, I just keep doing what you're doing. And then with the Mavs, same thing. I don't want to see any big moves this trade deadline from the Mavs. I like their pieces. I like the center rotation. I like the wing pieces. The wing depth is like exactly like what we talked about at the beginning of the year. It is filling out so nicely and complementing the stars very, very well. And Kyrie is probably having one of the best years of his career, not just from a statistical standpoint, but just the effort he's putting forth on defense. They were talking about him last night. He had a terrible offensive game and set the tone for the team on defense all game, just like being an absolute dog, chasing dudes over screens, super active hands. And then Luka's still doing Luka stuff, and
When he plays.
Antics beside the point, but yeah, still got he's still one of the best three players in the league. And then the Rockets, just so deep, so talented. They've got that really almost like that perfect combination of veteran and youth. And they're taking on the identity of Ime, so tough. They're hard-nosed, defense first. And they've got they just have so many pieces that I think are exciting to watch. And yeah, I don't want to see these teams start to try to change too much. Like I could see the Rockets try to go get Jimmy because they're like, oh, we're on the cusp this year. We're in second or they're in third
They're
or
in
fourth right
fourth
now.
now, I think.
Yeah, but it's like, please don't do that. Like
Nope.
just stay put. Your team is like where they should be. They're on a good trajectory. Give them another couple years together, and then maybe you package something up in a couple years for somebody who's on a similar timeline.
Yeah, they would need to give up too much to get Jimmy at this point
Yeah.
too.
Can I go back to the Spurs real quick? I was
Yeah.
messing around on the trade machine today. Shout out Spot Track. I've told y'all about this, how they now have a trade machine, which is better than ESPN's, but now they have an app, which is even better, and it works a million times better than the website. So shout out Spot Track.
Not
If
an
you
ad.
Not an ad,
but sponsor us.
but we wouldn't mind it being an ad.
But so Haley mentioned the Spurs and maybe going out and getting a guy that matches their timeline. What if they want to win now? How about
I'm jumping on this
Nikola
bandwagon
Vucevic
already.
for Keldon Johnson? And hear
No.
me out, hear me out, hear me out. Vooch is back. Vucci Mane is back. And he's having a great year in Chicago. He's shooting the crap out of the ball. But you know what? Vooch is a terrible defender. Well, guess what? The Spurs have this guy named Victor Wembanyama who is great at playing defense. He might have some offensive shortcomings to give Jordan maybe some credit on his Wemby his mid take. But he's an amazing defender. And why don't we go two twin towers who can shoot threes and one guy who can gobble up every single defensive mistake on your team? Vucevic for Keldon Johnson straight up, plus some of the picks or one of the picks that the Bulls now owe the Spurs. Give it back to them. Let them get a pick in this year's draft. It works, guys.
Yeah, that's actually like Keldon is probably the guy who I was thinking about as somebody who's okay to move because he's not necessarily like young anymore. He's not old either. But he's also a piece that's expendable, I think, for them with Devin Vassell. He's like they don't necessarily need him. Castle, Vassell, and Wemby are probably their core. And yeah, I mean, Keldon would be fine to move, and Vucevic, whatever, you let his contract run out and you move on when that's over, and that would be fine. So yeah, I know I responded pretty demonstrably earlier, but yeah, I don't mind it.
Here's my question for Josh, though. Like, what is Vucevic doing for them? Because I don't think Haley just said, you're probably not re-signing him. Are you putting them to another level? Are they getting a title out of him? Or like what? I don't think they're stringing anything necessarily more together than what they're actually doing. Maybe moving up a few spots in the playoffs, but
Yeah, I mean, I think
I
that's
would
what
have to
the
concur with Nick here that I'm not seeing a big needle move out of that trade.
I think
It's
it clearly gets them into the top six with Vooch. They're not winning the title because the Celtics are repeating, and if the Celtics don't repeat, it will probably be, maybe the mid team in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think it puts the Spurs into like clear top six contention, putting a 20-10 guy to add to their offense.
if they're fifth or sixth seed, they're still running through the four or the three seeds, which are better than them, than the two or the one. Like they're in a gauntlet of the West, and they're
Make
like
or
yeah.
miss league.
I
I
know,
think
but they're still not moving the needle far enough to be the top of the West. You really need to be the top of the West to be.
I think we're proving Haley's point for him, but I'm gonna just throw one more out there just for the sake of it. Is I saw some chatter around De'Aaron Fox today too, potentially going to the Spurs.
oh
And
wow.
when you've got a roster, the Spurs roster that has like 4 or 5 guys that are all in that 6'3" to 6'5", 6'6" ish range, who are not clear far and away standouts from each other. You package two of those guys together and a pick or something or a couple firsts, and you send that to Sacramento. I think we've got a clear needle mover in De'Aaron Fox being on your roster. That's the only move that's the reason I would make that move over a Vooch move is I think you have a clear right off the bat move in the right direction and a ton of youth too. That's a guy that they could lock down long term with Wemby and see some real results. I'm really surprised to see there's been a lot of chatter around De'Aaron Fox recently, and it doesn't really make sense, but maybe they're just in a sell high mentality since he's had such a strong start to the season. But
Well, it's because the Kings suck. Like I told y'all before the year that they were gonna suck, and they suck.
Well, here's why Fox isn't going to get moved this season. And so if he makes All NBA this year, he's eligible for Jason Tatum money.
He's not making all NBA.
You never know with
They're
games
third
missed.
team,
not
He's
good.
playing well enough. He's close enough to get. I think
he's
he's in
playing well
contention to
enough.
make All NBA third team, and he can sign for 350
Yeah.
million because of how long he's been on the Kings. All he
There's no
needs is a
way.
couple of guys to get hurt, miss more than 17 games, and he's getting a fat old check.
He's a third teamer for sure if he keeps putting up the numbers that he's putting up. He's averaging like 25 or 26, 7 and 5 or something like that. Those are at least third team numbers.
Yeah.
We need Haley to respond. We've given him plenty of things to talk around. Haley, what did we get wrong here?
I don't see it. There's no way.
All right.
Good answer. Good answer.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Well, let me take that as my transition point. Um, I would like to talk about a gift that we'll find at most uh, Christmas gatherings, and in the same, you'll find this gift in any conversation about basketball right now, and that is eggnog and Wemby. Wemby is the eggnog of this Christmas, and you want to know why? It's because you need to cut people off because it's pretty tasty when it's viewed in isolation, but then you get your Uncle Josue who's had a few too many cups of the eggnog, and he won't stop talking about how good the eggnog is. And you just need to tell him to pump the brakes and to put the eggnog away. But somehow the bowl of nog just keeps refilling because everybody keeps talking about how good the eggnog is. So the host just says, "Oh," and the host here is ESPN, by the way, just keeps putting out new bowls of eggnog every 2 seconds. I'm plastered. I need to be done with the nog.
This is the most wild take from Jordan to me. This Tio Josue would like all the Wembanyama eggnog. he made it to 300 career threes faster than Steph Curry, Ray Allen, and Reggie Miller. So I'm all in on Victor
I,
Wembanyama.
I said in our group chat earlier this week, I was like, the only reason people don't like Wemby is because they're getting too much of it from the national media, and I just refuse to turn on ESPN. And
Amen.
it's been so good for me because I love Wemby. I turned him on, and I'm like, dude, I watched him against the Hawks the other night. I'm like, well, this dude's a freaking
I like
maniac.
Wembnog too, okay? It's delicious. But that doesn't mean that I want to
Wembnog.
have it all the time.
Jordan, you need to up your Wemnog tolerance.
Now, I
Uh,
watched most of the game that they just played against the Hawks, though, that went into overtime earlier this week, and he had one of the best fourth quarter and overtime combos, other than getting absolutely posterized by DeAndre Hunter to
With the
send the
game
game
on
to
the line
overtime.
too.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was a little rough, but I think he ended up scoring like 12 straight points at one point between like the 2 minute mark of the fourth quarter and the 2 minute mark of overtime. So he's clearly up next in the NBA. There's no denying that. But
he's up
we but
now.
but we gotta cut people off at some point. Like I've had enough. I've had enough of the Wembnog for at least a week. Just give me
I do.
something else.
I have something else for you. I have some Grizzlies Kool-Aid.
Oh yes, I brought this too for Jordan.
Yes. I brought a big old pitcher of
Cauldron.
Grizzlies Kool-Aid for you. And
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. So I saw a stat today. This was pretty interesting. It's like one of those noise and numbers kind of things, but they over the last 20 games have the highest point differential of any team in the other than the 2018 Golden State Warriors from the last like 20 years, 20 plus years, something like that. So their point differential from the last 20 games is 260 points. 260.
It does help when you beat the Warriors by friggin' 50 or something like that.
But
Because the
they're
Warriors are trash.
They're so good. The Grizzlies are so good. The Grizzlies are like a little bit like I was talking about the Rockets earlier. They have so much more. They have more depth than I
Hmm.
think people expected. And like Scottie Pippen Jr.'s breakout has been like a revelation for them. He's just like ridiculously good.
Jake
That
Laravia.
has been
Jake
fun to watch.
LaRavia. Yeah.
Yeah, their bench guys have stepped up big time for sure to
Yeah.
you know fill the shoes of some of their less than fantastic or some of the DNPs from their starting lineup.
Can I give you all my NBA highlight from the past couple weeks?
I'm
It is
ready.
Zach Edey manhandling Draymond Green and Draymond
Love
Green
it.
flipping his, you know what? Like it,
Mhm.
it made me so happy.
After he called him soft on the podcast, on Draymond's podcast, that's the best part about it.
Yep, yep. Love
Big
every bit of it.
ol' big ol' slice of humble pie.
Hmm.
On the Warriors note, I have a few. Just hit them real quick. Some quick highlights from Josh Okogie, what he's bringing. One, I want to get Jonathan Kuminga a new barber. But let's put that new barber in a new city. You've heard of a glow up. Jonathan Kuminga had a glow down. He was rocking the braids. He was looking good. He went to a barber and just got possibly the worst buzz cut I have ever seen. I'm a big Jonathan Kuminga fan. He just does not fit the Warrior system. He needs to go to like he would be amazing on the Grizzlies. You want to talk about perfect fit? The way the Grizzlies like drive and kick. Jonathan Kuminga needs to get out of Golden State. So Joshua Claus is bringing him a new team. How about for y'all Mario Kart fans, the Superstar, which prohibits you from getting hurt, basically.
Mm.
How about we give one of those to Nick Nurse? What's going on in Philly? Is anyone healthy? I'm pretty sure Gershon Yabusele is their only healthy best player right now, and he was in France last year. So let's get Nick Nurse, one of those superstars, to keep the rest of the Sixers from getting hurt. Uh, for Karl Anthony Towns, I'm going to get him a bodega and a cat to go in the bodega because I think Bodega Cat is the best nickname in the NBA right
It,
now.
it elite nickname.
elite S tier nickname. And I've been a Karl Anthony Towns skeptic, and I said it last time when I picked the Knicks that time. I love Cat on the Knicks. He's playing so well. I didn't think it would work. It's so funny. I was in on Randall to the Wolves and out on Cat to the Knicks, and well, I was wrong. How about for the New Orleans Pelicans? We just give them reincarnation because they just need new life. Because you think the Sixers situation is bad, the Pelicans is somehow even worse. Um, for our guy Grady Dick, can we get him a new last name? The funniest thing with watching Raptors games is the opposing announcers struggling to say his name. And be like, Grady, I'm not going
Grady.
to say his last name. There's a good play by Dick. I mean Grady, and then the new play-by-play guy for the Celtics, Drew Carter. He he was making so many jokes during the Celtics podcast. Grady Dick's a good player, but we need to get him a new last name. And then
Grady Richard.
I support it. He looks like a Grady Richard too. And then my quick rundown before I get to my last true gift. My let's give the Utah Jazz Cooper Flag. It just fits, you know. White American superstar. Where else would he be a better fit than Utah?
Fair enough.
You gotta
Nowhere.
you gotta wait a year, man. You gotta wait for him to come. AJ Dibinson, or whatever his name is, out of BYU. He'll be the savior for the Jazz.
Nah, he'll
You
go to a
know,
different team. The Jazz are going to get the white guy. Mark my words. The same way the French guy was going to the Spurs, the white guy's going to the Jazz.
That's fair.
But my last Josh O'Claws gift. So I don't like shopping in stores. I think it's because of my inability to navigate stores. I get lost, I get distracted, and then I forget when I'm going into stores.
This checks
So
out.
when I'm doing shopping, I do it exclusively online. Shout out Amazon. Amazon's not a sponsor, but Amazon sponsor us. Um, so when you're shopping online, you need to rely on the reviews from other purchasers. And sometimes those reviews, you read them, you have a little bit of hesitation, but I've already made my decision. I'm buying this regardless of what the reviews say. Well, Josh O'Claws is kind of doing the same thing here. For my guy Nikola Jokic, Josh O'Claws is giving Nikola Jokic Zach LaVine. Is it possibly a worse decision than having Michael Porter Jr. on your
Mhm.
team? Possibly. But after watching Zach LaVine twice in the last week, I am enamored with him on the Nuggets. I think his game would mesh so well alongside Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. Defensively, they would be atrocious because Zach LaVine might be the fifth worst defender on this podcast if he was on here with us. And if anyone's ever played pickup basketball with me, I suck at defense, and Zach LaVine's worse than me. So they would be a bottom three defense in the league, but offensively, that's all that matters. It would carry them to the finish line. And by God, does Nikola Jokic need some help? Because the way he is carrying the Nuggets, putting up insane statistics that we covered, but he's playing 39 minutes a night, and that's just not sustainable.
I think we
Yeah.
can all agree that if we could gift anything to anybody, it would be some support to Jokic.
Mhm.
The dude's prime is going to be wasted because the
The
GM
cheapest
from the
owners in the league.
Nuggets, yeah, and the Nuggets just kind of made
And
some
Calvin Booth's one of
ill-advised
the worst
moves.
GMs in the league. I'm playing my flag on that hill. Calvin Booth is a terrible GM.
Yeah, I would say I was doing a little research into uh, points per possession, and it's really interesting to see that the Nuggets still have like the fifth best points per possession of any team in the NBA right now, and that's with pretty much everything just going through Joker, and
Mhm.
and I mean, and so I can only imagine how good their offense would be if you add in someone that's a little more consistently potent, I guess,
Mhm.
with a Zach LaVine. Now, that being said, d does it actually make them that much better? Because if we consider the fact that they are already one of the top five points per possession teams in the league, and most games the teams are going to have roughly even possession totals. That points me to the fact that they're losing more games on the defensive end than they are winning them on the offensive end. So does adding Zach LaVine help you in that department? Most certainly not. But man, they'd be fun to watch on offense. That's for sure. I think a perfect example of this is the um, is the game that they just played against, what was it, the Kings, right? When
The
they,
Blazers, the game winner.
yes, against the Blazers, where they went back and forth and just scored. Both teams scored like 12 times in a row to finish the
Mm.
game. Nobody got a stop. But it was really entertaining because they changed the lead a dozen times in the last minute and 30 seconds. Yeah, Zach LaVine could help make more of
Yeah.
those games happen.
Yeah, they
All
did
right.
that on back-to-back games. Just real quick, they did that against the Kings, where it was like the final 130. That both teams went back and forth, and then they did a similar thing, but they won. The Nuggets won the Kings game, and then against the Blazers, they lost on
Simons made
some
the layup.
absolutely poor defense by Russell Westbrook
Yeah.
and Jamal Murray not paying attention off ball when Nikola Jokic was screaming at him to double and get the ball out of Anthony Simons' hands.
Now, I don't want to be circular here, but what if it's John Collins instead of Zach LaVine?
It's just a
Is it a little
different
duplicative
version of Michael
of
Porter Jr. It's like driving a Honda Accord and trading it in and getting a Nissan Altima if they still make Nissan Altimas.
I was gonna
Crazy.
But
say it
it's
felt
consistent at least.
I was gonna say it felt duplicative of Aaron Gordon. He
Yeah, that's what I
feels
was
like
thinking
Okay,
too.
yeah. That's fair. That's
it
fair. I buy
feels
that.
feels like your corners and your baseline would get a little crowded.
You're right. You're right. Good call. Good
What
call.
they really need, and I'll be quick on this because I could talk about the Nuggets all day and just how disappointing this whole Nikola Jokic season is. What they need is someone to carry the second unit, and we called out Jamal Murray, I think twice this season already, because Jamal Murray should be that guy. But the problem is when Nikola Jokic is on the court, they have the best offense in the league. When Nikola Jokic is off the court, they have the worst offensive in the league. And you watch games, and they're up 10, 15 points. They're up 26, I think, against the Kings, and Jokic goes out, and they just don't score for the entire time he sits.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're running short on time. Let's do a quick fire round for our final gifts we're gonna give. Haley, can I start off with anything from you?
This was a bit reminiscent of some things we've already talked about, but a genie with healing powers for the Pelicans and Magic.
Josh, what else you got in your Christmas list? Did you wipe it clean?
I mean, every year Josh O'Claws has been trying to bring Jaylen Brown to left hand, and we're still going to try and deliver it this year.
Jordan,
Jordan O'Claws, I guess, is I'm actually Cindy Lou Who or whoever the little girl is from the Grinch.
That's it.
What's
That's right. And you
yeah,
pronounced it right, which is the best part.
amazing. It's just taking shots in the dark at this point. The I'm being gifted by Santa Claus good ATOs by the Celtics and the Knicks and the Clippers. I I love good ATOs. It's some of my favorite stuff to watch in basketball. And I mentioned points per possession earlier. My main point in looking at it was some of the top points per possession ATO teams in the league right now, and top four for the season so far are the Celtics, the Knicks, the Mavs, and the Pistons coming in at number four. But you also got to give your nod to JJ, who's got the Lakers ringing in at number five. And then I love watching Clippers out of bounds plays. I think Ty Lue has the best out of bounds play package in the league. I really like his plays. So that's the Christmas gift from the league to Cindy Lou Jordan.
Love it. Love it. I have one final gift for us before we turn to our last segment, and it's a good segue. The gift is actually to Josh, and I'm going to say this gift is actually from Jordan, Haley, and myself. It's the ability, Josh, for you to make a correct pick when it comes to the Degenerates Corner. We need these picks to be better, buddy. Like, let's go. Let's
I got the
not-
last one right. I hit the last one. It was Jordan who
Hey.
missed it.
Hey, I need more. I need consistency, man. I know you did it once, but even a broken clock's right twice a day. So I need more consistency than that.
And
So
with
we-
that,
more in
I
me.
will take us to our degenerate corner for the week. And for for this particular round, we're going to keep it to one set of picks, and it's going to be for the Christmas Day picks. There's a mighty slate of games, and we're gonna take our swing at them. So Josh has the Celtics over the 76ers. I'm taking the Lakers over the Warriors. Definitely no hometown bias on either of those picks.
None at all.
Haley's got Dallas over Minnesota, and Nick has New York over the Spurs. So we'll tune in and see if we can't scrape ourselves together four correct picks in a row. A friendly reminder that the only time we did get all of our picks right, Haley forgot to place the bet. So, I guess we do need one additional step to happen when we get all these Christmas Day picks right, is we do need to actually place the bet. But I have all the faith in the world in this lovely team of pickers.
All right, gentlemen. Well, it's been a pleasure having this pod with you. Have a Merry Christmas. And to
Feliz
everybody out there,
Navi-god.
keep your friend group tight and your ankle braces even tighter. Did I get it right, Jordan? I got it
You
right.
nailed it.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Peace.
Adios.